Hi, we are starting a series of lessons dedicated to sending emails. In order to send emails to someone, we need to know their email. Therefore, I suggest our users add their email and require them to provide it during registration. All right, let's get started. We need to add email to the schema, and ideally, it should be added as follows. That it is a non-nullable string, meaning everyone must have an email, and that the email must be unique for each user. Let's also imagine that we have already deployed our project, and actually we already have some users, and we can't lose them. Then we face the problem that if we run migrations now with these settings, we will create an email field for users, which should be non-nullable and also unique. We run the migration, and we already have 10,000 users, and all their emails will be null, which is not possible. So we have this problem. Therefore, we need to solve it somehow. The problem is somewhat abstract because it's unlikely you wouldn't have added emails before the first deploy if you genuinely needed them to be non-nullable and unique. But something similar is bound to happen someday. Let's figure out how to work with this. We will do the migration in 3 steps. First, let's do a simple migration. Let's just add an email which may or may not exist. Here's the string. Great. Let's run this migration. pnpm bpmd. We'll be allowed to run such a migration. Add email to user. Good. Now we need to set some email for all users at this step, so that in the 3rd step, we declare that the email is nullable but unique. Let's do this. For that, we need to create our custom SQL migration. There's an additional flag for the Prisma migrate dev command. Remember, we have JSON for now, and a script pmd, which is actually just Prisma migrate dev. If you append create only to Prisma migrate, we'll just create a file with an empty migration where we can write our custom migration, right? And we'll name this migration set user emails. Okay? Opening the migrations folder, and we see this migration was created by Prisma when we added the email column. It stated it should be text and didn't mention it can't be null, as we wanted. And this migration we just created is empty. Let's add content to it. The content is as follows. We update the users table and set the email to the concatenation of the username plus iexample.com. Well, it's not a very realistic example, but the point is you need to somehow manage to set all these parameters. We know that our username field is currently unique, so if we add usexample.com to it, we'll still have a unique string for each user. And this set email we apply to everyone whose email is currently null. At the time of this migration, it will be null for everyone, but it's just an additional check. So, this turns out to be our first custom query for Postgres that we've written. All right, saving. Now let's add a 3rd migration in which we'll declare the email as non-nullable and unique. So pnp.bpmd. Right, so here's the warning that there might be issues if users have non-unique emails, but we are prepared for this as well. So we'll name the migration like this: mark users on user email as required and unique. Okay, so the 3rd migration has been added, which now marks our column as not null and sets an index because the field is unique. Right, great. That's how we created our migrations. In case you need, I've attached a link to a full tutorial on Postgres to this lesson. Here, everything is described in detail. So it's a course within a course. This thing is free. You can study it. However, I recommend skimming through everything and not worrying too much about Postgres. You can write any queries using ChatGPT here. The main thing is to try to understand what it offers you, and gradually you'll master all these queries. There's nothing terrible or difficult about them. You'll figure it out with experience. Good. Migration created. And now let's apply this our email. So, that's it. We don't need the schema anymore. Migrations are no longer needed. On the sign-up page, let's start with the backend. Let's take the sign-up mutation and add an email field to its input. So, email. The string, let's say at least one character is required, although it won't pass email validation without it anyway. And Zod also has email validation, checking its validity. Yes, making sure there's an address and a proper domain at the end. Okay, good. Added to the input. Let's go add it to the endpoint itself. So, this check remains, but we need to add the exact same check for the existence of a user with the specified email, because the email must also be unique. So in the end, this is what you'll get. This is how it was. Just added X user with nick, and here X user with email. All right, let's update the TypeScript server to load the types. Types are loaded. Great. And here's the same check for email. We take the email from input, find such a user, and if the user is found, throw an error. All right, and here we're being warned that we didn't check the required email. Let's pass it through. Email input.email. Okay, we've sorted out this endpoint as well, and it remains to add this to the front end. So, immediately there's an error with the initial value because it needs to be an email according to this input. Let's add an email. Oops, email, an empty string. Yes, okay. And we need to add the input. The label will be email, name, email. Okay, so let's see how it works for us now. Logout. Again? The backend crashed. Well, it crashes when we run migrations. Sometimes it doesn't realize what happened in time. PNPM BDF. Oh, no, it's really complaining about something. Well, it makes sense. It's complaining. We have a skip preset DB, where we preset the user. And here we didn't specify any email for it. Yes, let's enter anything, right? admin@example.com. Good. Now let's reload the page. Sign up. We're registering. Let's say user TTT. At example.com. Password 12341234. Sign up. Excellent. Let's try creating a user with the same email. So, for example, TTT atexample.com 12341234. Oh, that username already exists. Add one. That email already exists. Add one. Now we are registered. Excellent. Now we are all set to start sending emails to our users. Let's move on. Thank you all.